Started. I think we started. Okay. So today, what I wanted to do was talk to you a little bit about procrastination. And what I wanted to do, I'm not sure if we started. Okay, we are. So today, what I wanted to do was just talk to you a little bit about procrastination and kind of help you solve your procrastination problem if you have one. And to be honest, I think 99% of us have a procrastination problem. So what I want to do is just share some insight on how you can kind of deal with this issue if you have it. So the first thing that I think is important to share with you is that when I work with a lot of my clients and I work with a lot of students, a very common thing they tell me is that they just don't have enough time to get everything done. So when they tell me that, I look at them and I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense because I know you're quite busy. And then I asked them, I said, there's people out there, and I can actually see it. There's people out there who are extremely more busy. They're actually more busy than this other individual, but somehow they can get everything done. So then I asked, then I had this conversation with them. I'm like, well, you have all these things to do, and I can understand that you're busy, but then there's this person, and this person could be like a CEO of a company. It could be that, a manager of a corporation or something like that. Well, and how come they can get stuff done? So, what's going on here? So the person who's probably at a higher senior level, I know that they probably have people to assist them and to help them and support them and stuff like that. But I think one of the main reasons why people struggle with getting stuff done and, poor time management is, I think, because they don't really understand the difference between procrastination and time management. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of break them down for you here, because I think once you understand the difference between the two, it's going to make your life a lot more easier, and you'll be more productive, and you'll probably get more things done, and you'll probably actually feel better at the same time. So here's one thing that I think is very important for people to understand if they have a procrastination problem. And like I said, I think 99% of us do. So if you're that 1% individual who does not have a time management problem, then this video is not for you. And you'll probably be procrastinating by watching this video. So the thing that you want to understand here is that time management, and this is just my opinion, time management is more of a logical problem. Okay, it's a logical problem. And the reason why I say it's a logical problem is because what we do is the traditional definition of time management basically sounds something like this, and that is, I got to find time during the day to get stuff done. So they're looking for time during the day to get things done. So they're logically looking for hours in the day to complete their tasks. Okay, so that becomes a logical problem. Okay, but procrastination is actually not a logical problem. Procrastination is actually an emotional problem. So the key here is to understand that there's a difference. So there's logic and then there's emotion. And the thing you want to understand here is that you can never solve an emotional problem using logic. So this is why if you are a procrastinator, no amount of logic and no amount of reason is going to get you to do the thing that you need to do. Okay? The only way you're actually going to get around to doing the thing that you need to do is by changing the emotion that you feel to do the task. So, for example, I always talk to my students and stuff about this. So imagine, you have to clean up your room, and you can get all the stats in the world telling you that, hey, if you clean up your room, your life is going to be better, and they give you data, they can give you evidence that if you clean up your room, you'll do better. Now, maybe a few people will clean up their room because of that data, but really, people are going to finally clean up their room when their mom or dad just gets angry at them, and they're like, enough of this, the room has to be clean. Okay, and usually when the parents get really upset, that's when the child actually ends up cleaning the room. So the key to understand here is that it becomes an emotional problem that needs to be solved. Okay, so by using data and stats and facts, you're not going to solve your time management issue, okay, or your procrastination issue. So what you want to do here is you want to start understanding this. Now, when you understand that procrastination is an emotional issue, then you change the game. Then you change the game, because now you start dealing with the real problem. And the problem is that it's a feeling of not doing it, which is stopping you from taking the action. So how do you solve this, right? How do you solve this issue? So the first thing you want to do here is think from an emotional level, not from a logical level. Okay. So here's some tips that I think will help you. Okay. So if you're a procrastinator, what you want to do is, number one, understand that all the logic in the world is not going to help you. Okay. What you want to do is you want to start thinking of how it's going to feel when you actually get the thing done. Okay. So one of the things that we have, which we don't actually use well, in fact, we actually use it very badly, is our imagination. Okay. So we have this thing called imagination, and we can actually think of what life will be like if something happens. Okay. So that's an imagination. That's how we use our imagination. Now, a lot of people get depressed and stressed because they imagine the worst thing happening. So if you're a worrier and you're always thinking that things are going to go wrong, that just means your imagination is not being utilized in the correct way. So what you want to do here is you want to understand that if you get a hold of your imagination, you can do amazing things. So one of the things you want to do here is start imagining what it's going to feel like when you actually get the task done, or actually do the thing that you need to do, but start imagining it going well. Start imagining how it's going to feel when this thing is done. Start imagining how awesome and how much less stress you're going to have in your life when the thing is finished. Okay? So that's one thing you can do. But what's even more powerful than that is imagine the pain and the discomfort of actually not doing the thing that you need to do. Okay? Now, a lot of my clients and students, what they do is they finally start studying, or they start getting this thing done that they need to do, but they do it at the last minute. And the reason why they do it at the last minute is because they actually start to feel the pressure of actually not doing it. So if you know this, then you can actually use this for your advantage. And one of the things I would suggest is really start to imagine what it's going to feel like if you don't get it done. Okay. And when you actually start to feel what it's like when you don't get it done, you'll start to actually feel that stress of not doing it, of not getting the result that you want. And then that will help you. So one of the best ways to do this is actually start to write out how you are going to feel if you don't get it done. Okay, write out how it's going to feel if it's not done. Okay, and that's huge, because every time you start feeling those negative emotions by not doing it, the default is you're going to do it because you know you're going to feel good about it. So that's one way you can do it. Another way to do it is, and if some of you have watched my TED Talk, I've talked about speed of implementation. Speed of implementation is basically doing the thing that you need to do and pretty much just starting it. Okay, you don't have to worry about finishing it, just start it. So if you can just start it, then you have a much better chance of getting the task done, because it's always easier to go downhill than to go uphill. Okay, so starting is like going uphill, and finishing is like going downhill. Okay, so that's important. So just start. Okay, if that means you got to read like the first page of something, then just read the first page. If that means you got to read the first paragraph, read the first paragraph. But just start. That's going to help you tremendously. Another thing you can do is you can start, oh, and by the way, I'm seeing some questions, so I'll get to those questions in a minute here. Another thing you can do is, and if you have any questions, put them in. I'll try to answer them. Another thing is you can turn your distraction into a reward. So a lot of times people will say, oh, I want to watch this TV program because it's, I'm going to feel better to watch this TV program. So my suggestion is, well, what if you make that TV program your reward for doing the thing and not the thing that comes first? So if you can do this and you can associate a reward that you love to do to completing a task, two things happen. Number one is you now associate a pleasurable experience to doing the task. And number two is the reward that you actually are going to reward yourself with, the thing you're going to reward yourself with, actually becomes way more enjoyable. So that TV program that you always want to watch, it's going to be way more enjoyable because you felt like you've earned the ability to watch that TV program. Okay, so that's huge. So you get the thing done, plus you enjoy your reward even more. So that's actually going to benefit you as well. So one thing I tell my students is, try to find your distraction and then turn it into a reward. So some people like social media. So what they do is they just don't get onto social media until their homework is done, And then pretty soon, they enjoy their social media a lot more, and the task also gets done. Another thing is for you to track the actions that you take. So if you actually do stuff during the day, track it. Like actually write it down. This is what I got done. This is what I got done. This is what I got done. And at the end of the day, when you see all the things you got done, you're going to feel great. And then you'll associate a lot of pleasure to getting all those things done. So that's one great tip that I can share with you. Another one is, and this is what really I think is I just learned, which is really powerful, is actually write down how you feel when you do the task. Actually write down how you feel. And when you write down how you feel, you're going to feel hopefully better because you're going to feel less stressed, more confident, more, feel more self-esteem because you got this thing done. And at the same time, actually write down how you feel when you didn't do the thing that you were supposed to do. So I think those tips that I gave you, I think I gave you about 5 of them. I think that'll really help you to start fixing your procrastination problem. Okay, so I'm going to read and see if there's some questions here. So, yeah, absolutely. It's okay. Yeah, good to see you, man. Yeah, people who procrastinate in one area definitely procrastinate in other areas. And so what happens is when they actually do start getting down to doing the thing that they're supposed to do, it takes them way longer because if they had not procrastinated, let's say the directions or the instructions that they needed to follow, they've probably forgotten them because they waited so long. So the thing that they had to do is now going to take them way longer because they have to remember what they had to do in the first place. But if you get started right away, you still know what to do. You probably have the directions and the instructions clear in your mind and you just get it done and it's finished. Whereas people who procrastinate, they end up taking way longer and probably don't do a good job, okay, because they don't remember the instructions or the directions. Another thing which I think is really good, and I get people to write this down, is that procrastination, all it does is increases your chances of failure. Okay, it increases your chances of failure. So if you are a procrastinator, just write it down, write out a little note somewhere and make it, whatever you write out, just make it say, procrastination will increase my chances of failure, because it's true. If you wait, you're probably going to forget the directions. You're probably going to lose your motivation. You're probably going to forget what this thing is supposed to, what the instructions were in the first place, and you're probably not going to do a good job. Okay. So 100% agree with that. People who procrastinate in one area probably procrastinate in other areas. Here's another question for Hannah. What about people who work well under pressure? Is that a thing? Oh, that's such a good question. So a lot of times people will say, yeah, I need pressure because I work well under pressure. So here's my response. My response is that people just work under pressure. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. They just work under pressure. I don't think they work better under pressure. I think they just do stuff under pressure. So, there's a lot of research done on this, but people who need pressure to get stuff done, they not necessarily work at a higher level. They just are doing it because of the pressure that they're feeling. So what I would suggest is try to actually do it for yourself, test it out. Give yourself ample time and do what I'm saying, and that is actually give yourself a reward, track how you feel, plan it out, and do things like that. And then see how you feel and see the end result when you actually do it under lots of pressure. So, and I know why you bring that up, because I was talking to you about that the other day about working under pressure. So now I get why you asked that question. But so I would say in general, people who do stuff under pressure, they're not as productive and not efficient as people who actually, organize their time wisely and understand that it's an emotional issue. Okay, so again, I don't like to make these things too long. I spent about 14 minutes on this. And so that's it. And if there's no other questions, then I'm going to sign off. And hopefully you guys are having a good day. And the reason I'm doing these Facebook Lives is only because I want to kind of help people become more productive and use their time more wisely. So finally, when they actually get out into the real world, they've got some really good skills that'll help them be more successful. Okay, talk to you soon and have a great day. And don't procrastinate. Okay, do the thing that you need to do and get it done. Okay, talk to you soon, guys.